Hey, what's up, buddies? It's Sweaty Zeus. I want to do a real quick video just talking about damage types, scaling, and different weapons.
Back already, no matter.
So you can look here. I'm carrying a Knight Sword. I'm toward the end of the game on this playthrough. Um, I finally found a Somber 9, which I was looking for. I'd used most of them up. You can see down towards the bottom for attribute scaling, we're at a D on Strength. If we upgrade, it'll go to a C. Now the attribute scaling is just going to be the numbers when you look under attack power. The secondary numbers, the ones that are after the plus, those are the scaling numbers we get based on the different scaling attributes. So for example, on this one, the Carrying Knight Sword, before we upgrade, we're getting 69 physical damage, which that's going to be from strength and dexterity. Once we upgrade, it goes up to 77. Your base damage is the 190, and then that upgrades to 202. So each time you upgrade the weapon, the base damage will go up. Some weapons have really good base damage and crappy scaling. Some weapons have really good scaling and crappy base damage. That's really just something you're going to have to keep both of those in mind when you're looking at weapons. Some people only look at scaling, and where I disagree is there are some really good weapons. This one, for example, they have crappy scaling, but they do fairly good base damage, and when you combine those together, the weapons aren't bad. So a lot of people look at this weapon, never use it because they see, oh wow, D and C scaling, that sucks. Even upgraded, I think it's just C and D all the way, because we still got another level. Um, but yeah, it's actually a really good weapon, and the Ash of War on it, carrying Granger is amazing. So, anyways, it's a really good weapon. I can do like 3,000 damage with Ash of War fairly easily. But I did just want to go over that and the scaling. You can see also the intelligence, faith, and arcane. Those are going to show under over on attack power. They're going to show under magic, fire, lightning, holy. It just depends on what type of damage it is. So, like, say if it was um, had good faith scaling on this weapon, it would show under holy. And then if it had really good, obviously, intelligence scaling, or just regular intelligence scaling like this has, you can see where that's resulting in 94 additional attack power on the weapon, which converts to 106 when it goes to C scaling if we upgrade the weapon. So basically, you just want to look at the attribute scaling, and then it'll basically tell you how your attributes are going to affect the strength of the weapon. There's certain weapons that you may be able to wield, but yeah, they're not going to do a holy crap ton of damage until you really have high attributes on your character. But again, there's some weapons like this. It's got low requirements, only 10 strength, 10 dex, 18 intelligence. I mean, my character, I have like strength and dex kind of minimized. I've got like 80 intelligence, but this weapon's doing like 600 attack rating or close to it once I upgrade it. So it's still pretty good, especially for a straight sword. So, basically, here we've got two similar but different things. This is the scepter I'm using, or staff. You can see it's the sorcery scaling is what we look at here. On the attribute scaling, you can see our attributes are S and intelligence. That's as high as it gets. So we're getting 355 scaling based on our intelligence on our character. Same thing with seals. This incant scaling on this is 152, which is based off strength and faith. That's not very good, obviously, because my character's based around intelligence. I just have this on to throw on flame grant and strength occasionally. But yeah, so this is what we'll look at, and it's pretty much the same for either of these. Just the incant scaling is really what you're going to be concerned about. You're going to want to pick a staff or seal that attributes scale based on where your points are allocated. So, for example, if I was a character who invested in strength and faith, the claw mark seal would be great for me. Or if I just invested in, a lot of strength, this one's actually still pretty good. But you want to look at that. Obviously, if I had dex and faith, there's a different one that would work better. Same thing for this. If you're just pure intelligence, obviously it's S tier, it's as high as it goes, so that'll be great. But you can still get a little points from strength and dex. It's not a lot, um, but it does scale off that as well. So your sorcery scaling though is mainly the or incant scaling is the number you're going to be looking at the most with these. You can see down at the bottom under passive effects, boost full moon sorcery. Every weapon has not every weapon actually. Uh, if you look at that category under every weapon, some of them have different passive effects, such as they'll build up statuses. There's weapons that build up sleep status. There's weapons that build up bleed. There's weapons that build up poison status. It just depends on the weapon you're looking at. Bleed is really good in this game, so I usually suggest getting some weapon that has bleed on it. This is just kind of my fun playthrough, so I'm just doing what I want. But if you're trying to maximize and do the very best, I think bleed's probably the one that's a little overpowered. So anyways, yeah, just when you're looking at any type of magic or incantations, you're just going to be really concerned about the incant scaling. And as you upgrade it, you see this one, when we upgrade it from 17 to 18, the incant scaling goes from 152 to 154. And if we upgrade it again, it goes from 154 to 155, and so on. So that's really all I wanted to say about scaling. You can change the different scaling with your Ashes of War. So you pick a weapon here. Say this weathered straight sword. It's got D strength, D dex. But if I wanted to make it like a bleed focus weapon, I could make it blood, or I could make it occult. And you can see if I do different ones, it's gonna add blood loss if I go blood. That adds under passive effects at the bottom. It adds 57 blood loss buildup for every attack. Occult removes that, but you get C arcane scaling, where here you're going to get D scaling, but you're going to have blood loss. So obviously, I think that'd be a better way to go. If you go here, it'll cause poison buildup. Obviously, poison and blood, that's what they do. These are based on, so quality is really good if you have your attributes evenly scaled between strength and dex. Keen is a little more dex focused. Heavy is pure strength focused. Standard is just the weapon, the way it comes. And it's, it could be different, all kinds of different ways that it's allocated as far as attribute scaling. So you can customize this as you go through the game. You'll find wet blades. I think I'm missing one actually. Oh, it depends on the Ash of War you select as well. So I'm missing the magic wet blade on this one for some reason. But yeah, so if you choose a cold Ash of War, such as Hoarfrost Stomp, that's going to give you cold scaling, and that causes frost buildup. So that's another really good status effect. I hope that makes sense. It's kind of a lot to learn. It's overwhelming, but just focus on your total attack power. That's really what matters. I would casually look at attribute scaling, and secondarily to whatever weapon you like or enjoy playing with, look at the attack power, and then hopefully it has a good scaling. If it doesn't and has really good base attack power, it's not as big a deal. But scaling is good because it tells you where to put your points to build um, stronger damage on the weapon. So just tells you how your points are going to pay off as you invest them in like strength or dexterity, and how it will add. Because like for example, I'm gonna just show Bloodhound Thing's one of my favorite weapons. I know we've got it at plus 10 on this. Oh yeah, it's all the way upgraded, so we can't see it. Like, why are they not there? So you can see on this one, B dexterity scaling. We've only got 28 dexterity, which most of that's because I have a talisman on and rune arc and stuff. Um, but just with only 24 dexterity and 28 strength, so C and B scaling, we're getting an extra 224 physical. So it's doing 626, where this one's doing 648. So everyone says this weapon sucks. You can see it's close to Bloodhound Fang, which obviously this is more uh, tempered around our character, but I mean, this is a bigger, slower weapon. And anyways, I'm just trying to tell you, scaling isn't everything. Obviously, we have better scaling here, but this one's still doing more damage. But the difference here is split damage, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Um, I think generally this is kind of more opinion based and what you want to go with. But when you're under attack power, physical damage is always really good because it's gonna hit most enemies evenly. There's enemies that may have high negation uh, against magic or fire or lightning or holy. So if I use this weapon and I fight an enemy that has really strong magic negation, or say they had complete magic negation, I don't think it's that high, but just say they had 100% magic negation, we wouldn't be doing any magic damage. We'd only be doing 279 physical damage. Now, if we fight an enemy that doesn't have uh, high or hardly any magic negation, you're doing that full 648 damage you're getting from all those numbers together. It just depends. But that's why physical is always good because it gets around whatever negation they may have. Certain enemies, have certain areas have high negations, like in Liurnia. When you get there, everyone's got high magic negation for the most part because they're all magic based. So I know it's a lot, but it's really not that bad once you start jumping in and learning about it. Always remember you've got if you go to your menu and you push in on the pad on PlayStation. I don't know what it would be on Xbox, but on PS5 you push in on the control pad on the touchpad, and you could go down to explanation. This is really handy. It gives you like an overview of what each attribute, um, what the different things are. This is the name of the skill on the weapon, the types of damage dealt. So it gives you a good primer on these things, and you can pretty much figure it out for yourself if you read most of these. So anytime you're lost, I would suggest doing that. I found myself doing it a little, and I'm even a guy who's played all the Dark Souls, all the played Sekiro, beat all the Bloodborne, all of it. So, anyways, that's pretty much it. So the other thing I wanted to go over real quick is I would suggest carrying two types of weapons, and I would have two different types of weapons based on um, what I like to have is a weapon for when I'm in areas like this that are underground. A lot of times we face a lot of enemies that have really tough physical negation against like um, slash and thrust damage. I'm trying to find a good. This would be good. And then find a kind of similarly leveled up weapon here. I had a thrusting sword. Yeah, Rozier's at 8, and this is at 7. So this one's actually a little more leveled up. Um, and this one, even though it has holy, Ash of War, it doesn't have holy damage. They're both only physical. This one has actually more, um, is a higher level. So if anything, this thrusting sword should work better. But this is again is why I'm gonna suggest you carry two weapons. One of them always I think should be a strike weapon. Now if you use magic or faith or whatever, and you face enemies that um, have a rock type skin that I'm talking about, you'll do generally okay. You see we did 546 on a backstab on that guy. He's just like a standard enemy. Now this guy, we did 27 damage. Now if we switch to this, it's actually, remember, it's lower level. One hit, 148. That's because they are, they don't have very good negation against strike damage. So I really feel like it's good to have a weapon that does strike damage. So any hammer, any great hammer, any flail will work. You have all three of those, and then there's a few weapons in other areas that have you know, different types of damage. Like if there's weapons where if you hit a certain way, it'll do strike damage. A certain way, it might do slash damage. It just depends. But this is another option. You can get this one done the Weeping Peninsula if you take out the Night Cavalry guy. So there's all kinds of strike damage weapons. You could just play purely with like a strike damage weapon because they work okay against these guys. You can see. I want to see if we can get his shield out. Hopefully he'll put it back up. You can see it totally powered through his shield. See him put it up again, hopefully. Shut up, boy. I'm gonna kill him. These guys are just kind of fleshy, so they're pretty weak to any type of damage. See, we did 201 with a backstab. 71. But see, I have to hold two hands on this because I don't meet the streak requirement. So I wasn't doing any damage at all, hardly. One-handed because I don't have the attributes for it. So just keep that in mind if you don't have enough strength for a weapon. Oh, he saw me? Shit. If you don't have the attributes for a weapon, you just gotta upgrade them. Other than strength, that one you can hold something two-handed. Doesn't work with dex or anything else, just strength. So keep that in mind. You gotta be careful though, because if you are switching from one hand to two hand and you forget you get in a fight, then you'll be one-handing and then you're not doing any damage. It's not good. So I wanted to show one more thing here. There we go. So I'm gonna kill a boy here. You can see strike damage does fine against regular enemies. Now, if we hit this guy, sometimes with certain weapons, you can see I bounce off. It's like I'm hitting a shield or a wall. It does no damage, but... And I don't know what the general rule is for bouncing off stuff, because like the strike weapon, it doesn't bounce off shields or hard skin guys like that. I think the same will happen. So it's just whacking. Oh, he doesn't have a shield. You're dead. Alright. Now you let it down. Put your shield up. Shit. I'm trying to show something. Idiot. I'm not playing along with my video. This is not upgraded at all. So you can see it works really good against fleshy type enemies like the octopus. You can see there as well when the blood sprayed out of that guy at the end. That was bleed status when it finally built up. You can see any strike weapon just melts through these dudes. They were kind of a problem until I figured it out, but it really makes going through these cave areas a lot easier. So, again, you can play through with your main weapon being strike damage. I just think it's a good idea to have two types, because there are different enemies throughout the game that will kind of have good negation against certain types. And if you go through an area where, for whatever reason, they're good against strike damage, I don't know what type of enemy that would be, but for the most part, it's kind of like a rock, paper, scissors system. Just want to have the right weapon in the right area. So it's good to have a couple different types. My issue is I have too many weapons. I'm spreading my stuff too thin. So that's totally up to you, but you know, just a suggestion. All right, so that is pretty much it. Actually, can't think of anything else. Like I said, you do want to be careful. Certain weapons will. You can see if I get too close on this wall, and walls are different, but I'm just showing the animation where I bounce off. Certain weapons will do that against these rock type guys. It does seem to be like dependent on certain things. Like if you're very close, it'll happen more often than if you just kind of hit them from a little more distance. So I don't know what the exact cause of that is, but just want to play around with it. But that should cover most of it. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. I'm doing this to replace an older video, so I hope I covered everything um, that you might have had questions about or that I could help you with. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. I know it's kind of overwhelming just jumping into some of this, but it's really easy once you figure it out. So that's what I wanted to do is just kind of be here to answer any questions you might have and make sure everybody. I know a lot of people talk about how hard this game is that are new to it and are more casual or not invested in the FromSoft games in the past, but I just wanted to show like how easy this game can actually be if you approach it the right way. It's actually really easy. I mean, you will die. That's normal. Another big tip I'll give you. Another big tip I'll give you. That'll really help you out if you're struggling. Focus on vigor. You can see I have 55. At the start of the game, I suggest people go to 30 before they touch any other stat. You get most of your damage that you do from upgrading your weapon, not your stats. Your stats do help, but for the most part, your weapon being upgraded is going to affect your damage a lot more. So focus on getting your vigor up to 30. That'll carry you at least halfway through the game. Um, and then you only got to get up to like 50, 55 really. 55 is very comfortable. But that'll make it a lot easier. I think a lot of people are just trying to, put a lot in strength and, endurance and all this because they want to hit hard or have really good armor. Trust me, just put 30 in vigor. It'll be so much easier. And just pick a weapon that you can start with early on. It's really good. I've got some in my first 5 videos, like this one. You can get this weapon like in the first couple hours, and I think it might be the best like physical dex strength combined or quality weapon in the game. On a character I respect to have mostly strength and dex, I was doing like 1200 a hit with this thing, just with regular quick attacks. I think it was like 1270, just using like a couple good talismans and a couple little buffs. I think regularly it was doing around 1,000. So yeah, again, have any questions? Let me know. Thanks for watching. See you guys later.